Hello. I really enjoyed this assignment. The two services that I ended up using were Bloomberg and Lexology. As far as the type and depth of coverage, it was a mix in both cases of opinions, shorter news pieces, longer analysis, expert commentary, things like that. I noticed that Bloomberg was a bit heavier on the expert commentary and would, cite the credentials of its writers. I didn't specifically notice that in Lexology. But one thing I did notice was citations or links. So Lexology seemed to have a pretty distinct absence of links. However, they did cite primary sources, particularly in kind of their long-winded analyses of case history and case law that might be building up to a particular issue. Bloomberg did follow that path as well. In many cases where they did include links, they were links to other Bloomberg articles, so they were kind of redirecting you within the platform. But I didn't see any links to primary sources on either. I think maybe I saw one Bloomberg link to the Federal Register. As far as the content being what I expected, it was pretty well what I expected. And of course, like with Lexology being the free platform, in a lot of cases, the more intriguing looking articles led you straight into a paywall, which is obviously not something that I encountered with Bloomberg. But the content by and large was what I expected. It was law focused on the domains that I chose to concentrate on, which were data privacy, cybersecurity, and AI. So a couple newsletters I signed up for there from each. As far as notable advantages or disadvantages, I would say Bloomberg had definitely better brevity as far as being able to provide a succinct analysis and sort of actionable conclusions within the email newsletter. It was very strong in that sense, whereas many of the Lexology articles, it might be different if I were to move to the paid model, but many of the Lexology articles, the conclusion seemed to be, this is what's happening in the space and we should watch it. It wasn't so much forecasting specific outcomes and their likelihood. There was a little bit of that, but it didn't seem to be supported by much evidence, whereas Bloomberg, I think, was more clearly directional in that sense as far as what I should do with this information. What is the key takeaway? And that for me was huge. That and the brevity, I think, definitely put Bloomberg into first place, as it should be, being a paid platform. I would be intrigued to try it side by side with Lexology Pro, just to see if there was something that I was missing as far as UI and functionality. Would there be more links to primary sources in Lexology Pro where they were pretty distinctly absent in the reading that I did on the free tier? But in any case, to wrap it up, it was pretty well what I expected. I do think that the big selling point, however, for Bloomberg was certainly brevity. I mean, and they did both cite cases, so in the event that I would need to go forth and research, I could do that using the name of the case. So that's valuable. It would just be a matter of finding the platform where that exists. And it was a pretty distinct absence on both platforms that they did not include those links. Anyway, I enjoyed this assignment a lot. I think it was a wonderful warm-up, and I look forward to class tomorrow. We'll see you guys there.